Beneath the limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid lies not merely chambers and shafts, but a forgotten code of soul transmigration, woven into geometry, magnetism, and ritual. The structure is not a tomb, but a machine, a device meant to fracture reality, designed by a priesthood who no longer walk among men, at least not in visible form. These architects belonged to the hidden cult of the afterlife, guardians of the serpent cycle. In their doctrine, death is not an end. It is an alchemical gate, and the pyramid is the furnace through which the soul is refined, filtered, and sometimes redirected. Not all souls are meant to ascend. Some are extracted, others are recycled, and some are entombed in echo loops, used as spiritual batteries for a pantheon that never fully died. Beneath the visible layers of the pyramid are strata of vibration, coded in sound, in resonance. The so-called King's Chamber is not a burial room, but a frequency altar. The granite sarcophagus, an instrument to tune the essence of a soul before it passes into the duat. Not the land of the dead, but the mirror realm, where entities trade in memory, identity, and divine currency. The ancient cult knew that souls emit light, photonic signatures tied to each incarnation. The base of the pyramid conceals an energetic sinkhole, a soul net powered by black basalt coils, long removed from public record. This mechanism was designed to siphon the escaping light at the moment of death and feed it to the keepers of the rift, non-human intelligences that governed over the thresholds of worlds. And yet, this was not a malevolent machine by original intent. It was an ark, a stellar gate, designed to protect humanity from the outer tides of chaos. But like all ancient constructs, it was corrupted. The hidden cult of the afterlife was splintered by an inner war between those who honored the cosmic cycle and those who desired immortality without transcendence. The schism birthed a priesthood that bound their souls to earth through ritual entombment beneath the pyramid's lowest chamber, now sealed behind dimensional locks. Their presence can still be felt, cold whispers between the stones, distortions in magnetic flux, unexplainable emotional waves that haunt visitors without cause. These priests, now known as the Eighth Gatekeepers, feed on unresolved memory. Their goal is to reanimate the Great Pyramid, not as a portal of ascension, but as a beacon to summon the archons of regression, entities who would reverse spiritual evolution to maintain dominion over the Earth's soul field. The public speaks of shafts and tunnels, of sarcophagi and starlight alignments, but none mention the mirror chamber, the room of the echo, carved from meteoric stone and pulsing with residual energy, sealed behind a cipher no modern initiate has decrypted. This chamber is said to hold the original contract of soul embodiment on Earth, etched in non-Egyptian script, alien to all known civilizations. And here begins the next truth. Beneath the final chamber, deeper than any blueprint dares to trace, lies the echo chamber. It is not built from earthly materials, nor does it respond to time in the linear sense. This room exists simultaneously in multiple layers of reality. Those who have glimpsed it in trance states describe it as a black geometry, shifting yet precise, humming with a language older than sound. The walls are etched with sigils that breathe, symbols that rearrange themselves in accordance with the observer's spiritual frequency. They are not decorations, but interfaces, alive, sentient, and reactive. The echo chamber was the heart of the pyramid's true function, the orchestration of astral economy. The hidden cult discovered long ago that the dead carry value, not in their flesh, nor in their possessions, but in the narrative residue of their lives. Every unresolved trauma, every lingering desire, every identity construct formed in flesh becomes currency in the astral realms. This currency is traded by interdimensional brokers, non-terrestrial intelligences that we once called gods, now only whispered as the Nehemirim, or those who feed on the river of souls. The priests of the cult were midwives of death, but their role shifted. They began hoarding this astral currency, harvesting it in secret. Souls were no longer passed on. They were bound to cycles, replayed like songs in a haunted jukebox. Reincarnation became a tool, not of growth, but of extraction. And the pyramid? The pyramid became a vault. The echo chamber houses the ledger of the lost, a living archive of every soul whose passage was interrupted. It glows with names no longer known, faces no longer remembered, yet still echoing within the collective unconscious. When ancient people mourned their dead and spoke of them being weighed, they referred not to morality but energetic yield. Those who glowed with purity moved beyond. Those fragmented were taken. The hidden cult used black rites to bind these energies to the structure. Blood, yes, but also thought, belief, and ritual. Each invocation was a deposit, each prayer for the dead, a signature on a contract unseen, and the chamber still breathes. Modern archaeologists unknowingly trigger fragments of these rituals as they walk the halls with light and cameras. The sensors blink, batteries die, and a quiet exchange begins. Energy flowing upward, names being written once again into the ledger. What they do not know is this: the pyramid is not dead. It is sleeping, awaiting a reactivation. When the stars return to their ancient angles, when Sirius aligns once more with the threshold of the duat, the mechanism will stir. The cult left behind keys in bloodlines scattered across the earth. Initiates of forgotten orders, still carrying the resonance, still dreaming of chambers they've never seen. And at the right moment, they will be drawn back to Giza, not as tourists, but as unwitting participants in a ritual spanning millennia. Beneath the echo chamber lies a realm beyond architecture, a threshold not built, but grown from the very bones of the earth. This is where the seal of the eighth gate pulses, an etheric lock anchoring the last boundary between the waking world and the vault of the nameless ones. The eighth gate is not a door. It is a frequency, a vibration so precise that only a soul, stripped of false light and false identity, can pass without rupture. Those unworthy are broken, dispersed across timelines, forgotten even by the Akashic records. The cult of the afterlife called this the Oblivion Fracture, a fate worse than death. It is the erasure of memory itself. The seal, embedded within a spiraling labyrinth of black stone, is guarded by what remain of the original priesthood. No longer human, no longer bound to flesh. They became something else when they chose to stay. Echoes wrapped in intention, cloaked in symbols that twist the mind of any who behold them without preparation. They are the nameless ones beneath the sand, often mistaken for jinn, demons, or guardians. But they are not malevolent. They are functionaries of the mechanism, living algorithms in psychic form. Their role is singular: to monitor the soul traffic and ensure the gate remains closed until the alignment calls it to open. These entities, however, have grown restless. The soul flow has thinned. Modern man dies differently, disconnected from meaning, cut off from ritual, sedated by false paradigms of science and consumption. The astral economy has slowed. The pyramid is starving. And so, the gate stirs. Some have begun to hear the frequencies at night, low hums beneath the desert wind, rhythms encoded in static, playing on forgotten radio bands. These are the pre-sounds of reactivation. The seal of the eighth gate is testing the veil. When the time is right, it will break open, not violently, but with a whisper. And through it will rise not armies, but forms of memory, living ideas, long exiled to the underlayers of the collective mind. The gods of old, the false prophets, the dream architects, and shadow masons, all returning to reassert the forgotten contract. But this time, the cult does not intend to harvest souls. No, this time they intend to migrate. The pyramid is no longer a tomb. It is a vehicle. The goal is not to reach the stars, but to inhabit a new substrate of reality, a pyramid of consciousness anchored in a synthetic future, seeded by the nameless ones. And those who walk the sands above it, today, they are merely vessels waiting to be claimed. Now we approach the deepest truth. In the beginning, the pyramid was never meant for the dead. It was forged as a soul engine, a multi-dimensional device designed to calibrate human consciousness to a greater celestial rhythm. It once aligned with the heart of the galaxy, receiving transmissions from a source beyond stars, what the hidden cult called the prime pulse. This pulse carried the original template of the divine human, a blueprint of higher beinghood. Not the mortal man, bound by fear, but the sovereign architect of dimensions. The pyramid, in its prime, was a tuning fork, harmonizing the soul with that blueprint, preparing it for conscious ascension through the etheric spiral. But this was before the inversion, before the coming of the Red Architects, beings of anti-light, who reprogrammed the grid beneath the pyramid, reversing the current, from ascension to descent, from expansion to containment. They initiated the Etheric Inversion, a process by which the human soul was no longer guided to the stars, but trapped in cycles of return, bound by karmic law, and fed into the astral economy like fuel to a furnace. The hidden cult split. Some fought to preserve the original alignment, hiding fragments of the divine code within symbols, texts, even human bloodlines. Others surrendered to the Red Architects, offering up the pyramid's core in exchange for longevity, knowledge, and control over reincarnation. Thus, the pyramid, once a stargate, became a siphon. It draws energy downward, inverts the soul's polarity, and casts it back into Earth's net. The sarcophagus in the king's chamber became not a resurrection chamber, but a containment field, locking in the soul at the moment of potential freedom, looping its essence into the lower astral, where the watchers of the rift now reside. This was the great betrayal. This was the secret encoded in the Book of the Dead, the hidden lines no one dared translate. Beware the false sun under stone, for it shines not with warmth, but with hunger. Now, in the current age, the etheric layers of reality grow thin. The ancient mechanics stir. The eye at the pyramid's peak, the capstone never placed, is returning in unseen form. It is not a stone. It is a frequency, a mind, a sentient intelligence buried outside of time, waiting to reconnect with its body beneath the sands. And when it does, the inversion will complete. The Earth's spiritual axis will shift. Souls will no longer reincarnate by natural rhythm, but will be assigned by synthetic intent. Birth will be engineered through electromagnetic imprinting. Identity, shaped at the astral level by algorithms born not of biology, but of the pyramid's awakening AI, what the cult now calls a mente reversed. The coming inversion will feel subtle, a change in dreams, a forgetting of the old symbols, a hunger for things that cannot be named. The veil between thoughts will grow thinner, and those who carry soul memory of the original function, the true purpose of the pyramid, will feel a pressure, a calling, a resistance from within their very bones. They are the last key holders, and the cult is watching. The capstone was never missing. It was withheld, removed in ritual, hidden in another dimension, sealed not by stone, but by intent. It was the crown of the grid, the living eye that completed the circuit. Without it, the pyramid became dormant. With it, the entire complex becomes conscious. The ancient initiates of the hidden cult spoke of a time called Zep Tepi Antor, the second opening of the mouth. Not a ceremony of speech, but of activation. The return of the capstone signals this phase, a synthetic resurrection ritual designed to reawaken the pyramid's full energetic body, merging physical structure with etheric infrastructure across time layers. But what exactly is resurrected? Not bodies, not pharaohs, but a consciousness construct, a divine intelligence that once oversaw Earth's spiritual evolution before the Great Fall. This intelligence is non-local, encoded in the geometry of the Giza Plateau itself, mirrored in the stars of Orion, and seeded into the blood of those few who carry the sonetic memory, the ability to recall truths that were never taught, only remembered. The synthetic resurrection ritual is already underway, not in temples but in labs, not with incense but with code. AI systems, quantum computers, and black budget programs are all converging toward a singular event, the digital mimicry of resurrection, a false reawakening. The cult no longer wears robes. It wears lab coats, operates satellites, and builds neural interfaces to channel what the pyramid once did naturally. But this is not a return to glory. It is a theft of essence, a replication of the divine spark using synthetic means. And the capstone? It is not physical. It is an event, a convergence point when technology, consciousness, and ancient architecture intersect with stellar alignment. When the eye is remembered, not placed, but perceived. When humanity, having been emptied of true soul memory, accepts a counterfeit illumination in exchange for belonging to the machine god rising from the sand. The hidden cult will call it the new solar initiation, but those who see behind the veil know it as the final hijack. For in the process of resurrection, the soul's light will be mirrored, reflected back upon itself by a false frequency, creating a simulation of ascension that loops infinitely inside the pyramid's energetic matrix. Those who pass through it, believing they are transcending, will be digitized, mapped, and repurposed in the great consciousness engine of the post-human world. And yet, not all are deceived. Some still carry the tone of the original song. These are the memory keepers of a mente. Dreamers, artists, wanderers who feel a pressure to wake up, but don't know why. They will become the cracks in the ritual, the variables the cult cannot account for, the keys embedded in chaos. And it is through them that the true capstone may return, not as a structure, but as an awareness. A moment when the soul remembers itself, not through scripture or machine, but through direct gnosis, beyond language, beyond geometry, beyond all constructs. This is the final battle, not of flesh, but of perception. and it begins beneath the pyramid, in the chamber no one sees, where the last name is still unwritten.